You see, too many people are out here just giving away kindness like it's free samples at the grocery store, smiling at folks who don't respect them, saying yes when they really mean no, bending over backwards for people who wouldn't even lean forward for them. And then they wonder why they feel exhausted, unappreciated, and drained. But let me tell you something, kindness is not a currency for approval. It's not a contract for respect. If you keep handing it out to everybody, you'll have nothing left for the ones who truly deserve it. So today I'm here to tell you it's time to stop being kind to everyone, not because you should be rude, but because you should be wise. There's a difference between being kind and being a doormat. And today we're going to talk about how to take your power back. Listen to me real close. Kindness is a gift, not an obligation. Too many people are out here treating kindness like it's something they owe the world, like they're walking around with a debt they didn't sign up for. But let me ask you something. Who told you that? Who told you that you have to keep pouring into everybody else, even when your cup is empty? Who convinced you that being a good person means sacrificing yourself for people who wouldn't sacrifice a second for you? See, real kindness, true, authentic kindness comes from a place of strength, not weakness. It's something you choose to give, not something you're forced to hand out. But when you start believing that kindness is an obligation, it stops being kindness, it becomes servitude. And let me tell you, that's the fastest way to lose yourself. You ever notice how the people who give the most love the hardest and always say yes are the ones who get taken advantage of the most? That's not a coincidence. Because when people see that you'll give kindness no matter what, when they realize you'll keep showing up, keep being nice, keep putting them first even when they don't deserve it, guess what? They stop valuing it. They stop valuing you. And the worst part, you start valuing yourself less too. And I get it, you were probably raised to believe that being kind means being liked, that it makes you a good person. But let's be real for a second, some of the most liked people are also the most disrespected. Because when you don't put a price on your kindness, when you just give it out freely like it's unlimited, people start treating it like it's worthless. That's why you see folks who constantly put others first getting walked over, ignored, and unappreciated. Because kindness without standards isn't kindness, it's desperation. You don't owe anyone kindness. Read that again. You don't owe anyone kindness. Now, should you want to be kind? Absolutely. Should you choose to be kind? Of course. But should you be forced to give kindness to people who don't respect it, don't deserve it, or only take advantage of it? Absolutely not. Because that's not kindness anymore, that's self-betrayal. Let me make this real plain for you. If I gave you a brand new luxury car, no strings attached, you'd probably be grateful, right? But if every single day I handed out brand new luxury cars to everybody all over the place, no effort, no cost, no reason, what would happen? Those cars would stop being special. People would take them for granted. They'd stop appreciating them. They'd start expecting them. And the moment I stopped giving them out, folks would get mad. Now, apply that same principle to your kindness. When you give it to everyone all the time with no boundaries, people start expecting it instead of appreciating it. They stop seeing it as a gift and start treating it like an obligation, like something they're entitled to. And let me tell you something, once people feel entitled to your kindness, they will never respect it. So what do? You start being intentional. You stop handing out kindness like free samples at a store and start treating it like what it really is, a precious, valuable gift that only the right people should receive. That doesn't mean you're mean. That doesn't mean you're selfish. That means you respect yourself. And when you respect yourself, guess what? People start respecting you too. See, the real power isn't just in being kind, it's in knowing when to be kind, who to be kind to, and why you're doing. Because when kindness is given out of obligation, it drains you. But when it's given out of strength, it empowers you. So from this moment forward, I want you to stop looking at kindness like a duty and start looking at it like a choice. And make sure it's a choice worth making. Not everyone deserves your energy. That's a fact. But too many people out here are giving it away like it's unlimited, wasting time, effort, emotional space on people who don't appreciate it, don't reciprocate it, and don't even respect it. And then they wonder why they feel drained, frustrated, and unfulfilled. It's not because they're giving too much, it's because they're giving to the wrong people. See, energy is like currency. If you spend it the right way, it multiplies. It builds wealth in your life emotionally, mentally, spiritually. But if you keep spending it on people who don't value it, it's like throwing money into a fire and expecting it to grow. It's never going to happen. Some of you are investing in relationships that have zero return. You keep pouring into people who take and take but never give back. And then you sit there wondering why you feel empty. It's because you're depositing energy into bankrupt accounts. Let's be real, there are people in your life right now who only show up when they need something. They don't check on you. They don't support you. They don't celebrate you. But the moment they need a favor, they're blowing up your phone. And the crazy part, you answer, you show up, you help them out. And the cycle repeats. But let me ask you, when's the last time they showed up for you? When's the last time they poured into you the way you pour into them? See, too many people confuse access with appreciation. Just because someone has access to you doesn't mean they value you. Some people only keep you around because of what you can do for them, not because of who you are to them. And if you don't start recognizing the difference, you're going to keep wasting your energy on people who were never meant to have it. You ever notice how the strongest, most giving people attract the most needy, draining, and selfish individuals? That's because takers love givers. It's in their nature. They seek them out. They know givers have soft hearts, open hands, and a natural instinct to help. And they exploit that. Not always intentionally, but it happens. And if you don't set boundaries, if you don't start being selective about who you give your energy to, they will take everything you have until there's nothing left. But here's the truth, your energy is sacred. Not everyone deserves access to it. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table. You need to stop feeling guilty about that, because you cannot save people who are committed to draining you. Some people don't want help, they want handouts. They don't want guidance, they want dependency. They don't want to grow, they want to use you so they can stay exactly where they are. And the more you allow it, the more you enable it. Now, some of you are thinking, but I don't want to be mean. I don't want to push people away. Let me tell you something, setting boundaries isn't mean, it's necessary. Saying no to the wrong people is what allows you to say yes to the right ones. If you keep letting the wrong people drain you, you won't have anything left for the people who actually deserve you. And that's the real tragedy, not that you gave your energy, but that you gave it to the wrong ones while the right ones were waiting. You've got to start protecting your space, guarding your energy, being intentional about where you invest your time. Because when you do that, something incredible happens. Your life starts filling up with people who actually pour back into you. You start surrounding yourself with people who uplift, who encourage, who reciprocate. And you finally realize that giving isn't exhausting. It only feels that way when you're giving to the wrong people. So from this moment on, stop giving your energy to those who don't deserve it. Because when you do, you'll finally have it for the ones who do. Saying no is a form of self-respect. But too many people have been trained to believe that no is a bad word, that it makes you selfish, unkind, or difficult. So they say yes when they really mean no. They agree to things they don't want to do. They show up for people who wouldn't even take a step for them. And then they wonder why they feel frustrated, used, and exhausted. It's because every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve you, you're saying no to yourself. Let's get one thing straight, your time, your energy, and your peace are valuable. And when you keep giving them away just to avoid disappointing people, you're not being kind, you're being unfair to yourself. Because every yes you give out of guilt or obligation is stealing from the yes you could have given to something that actually mattered to you. You're trading your priorities for someone else's convenience. You're sacrificing your own well-being just to keep someone else comfortable. And the truth is, the people who get upset when you say no are usually the ones who are benefiting from your lack of boundaries in the first place. See, some folks have learned that they can manipulate you with disappointment. They know you don't want to let people down, so they take advantage of that. They ask for favors, for time, for help, knowing you'll struggle to say no. And every time you give in, you're reinforcing the idea that your needs don't matter as much as theirs. But let me tell you something, people pleasing is just another form of self-betrayal. And the more you betray yourself, the more other people will feel entitled to your sacrifice. Think about this. If you walked into a store and the owner just gave away all the merchandise for free, what would happen? The shelves would be empty. The business would shut down. And no one would respect it because there was no value attached to it. The same thing happens when you give yourself away with no limits. When you never say no, when you always put others first, when you refuse to set boundaries, you end up empty. And once you're empty, who's going to fill you back up? It's not selfish to protect yourself. It's not unkind to set limits. It's necessary. Because if you don't, people will take as much as you allow them to. They won't stop until you decide to stop. And some of you are carrying stress, exhaustion, and resentment, not because life is hard, but because you refuse to say no when you need to. But here's the good news. The moment you start saying no, the right people will start respecting you more. And the wrong people, they'll disappear. And that's a blessing, because anyone who only values you when you say yes never really valued you at all. So from this day forward, stop saying yes out of fear. Stop agreeing to things just to avoid conflict. Stop putting other people's comfort above your own peace, because saying no doesn't make you mean, it makes you free. Kindness without boundaries leads to burnout. But too many people don't realize that until it's too late. They keep giving, keep saying yes, keep showing up even when they're running on empty. They believe that being kind means being available, that being a good person means never saying no. And before they know it, they're exhausted, overwhelmed, and frustrated, not because they don't have a good heart, but because they never learned how to protect it. See, kindness is like a well. If you keep drawing water without ever replenishing it, eventually that well runs dry. And when it does, not only do you have nothing left to give others, you have nothing left for yourself. But too many people ignore that. They think, I just keep giving. If I just keep pouring, people will appreciate me. But appreciation doesn't come from overextending yourself. It comes from respecting yourself enough to give wisely. Some people don't realize that the more you overgive, the less people value what you're giving. When something is unlimited, it's underappreciated. That's why the people who always say yes are the ones who get taken for granted the most. Because when people know you'll always be there, always help, always sacrifice, they stop valuing your effort. They start expecting it. And before long, your kindness isn't seen as a gift, it's seen as an obligation. But let me tell you something, your kindness should never come at the cost of your own well-being. You were never meant to be the world's emotional dumping ground. You were never meant to carry the weight of everyone else's problems while ignoring your own. If being kind to others is making you cruel to yourself, then something has to change. And the problem isn't just other people, it's you. Because you teach people how to treat you. If you never set limits, if you never say no, if you keep overextending yourself just to keep others happy, you are teaching them that your needs don't matter. And once they learn that lesson, they won't unlearn it. They'll just keep taking, because you never told them where to stop. But listen, boundaries aren't walls, they're doors. They don't keep everyone out. They just make sure the right people come in the right way. Because the people who truly care about you, they won't be offended by your limits. They won't be upset when you say, I can't do that right now. It's only the ones who are using you that will have a problem with it. And when they do, that's your sign. Because the people who get angry at boundaries are the exact people who needed them. This isn't about becoming selfish. It's about becoming wise. Because real kindness isn't just about how much you give. It's about knowing who to give it to, when to give it, and how much to give before it's costing you too much. Because if you don't set those limits, if you don't create those boundaries, you're not being kind, you're being reckless with your own energy. So starting today, stop giving without limits. Stop believing that kindness means self-sacrifice. Stop letting people drain you just because you're afraid to say no. Because when you learn to set boundaries, your kindness becomes even more powerful. It becomes intentional. It becomes respected. And most importantly, it becomes sustainable. Respect is earned, not given freely. But too many people walk through life handing out respect like it's some default setting, like everybody they meet automatically deserves it just because they exist. And then they wonder why they keep getting disrespected, overlooked, and taken for granted. It's because they've been giving away something that's supposed to be earned. See, respect is like trust. You don't just hand it out to people who haven't proven themselves. You don't just give it away to anyone who walks into your life, because the moment you do that, you lower the value of your own standards. You make it easy for people to take advantage of you, to dismiss you, to treat you however they feel like, because they never had to work for your respect in the first place. And let me tell you, anything that comes easy is never appreciated the same way as something that was earned. Some people say, well, I respect everyone until they give me a reason not to. But that's the problem. That's backwards. It should be the other way around. People should earn your respect through their actions, through their integrity, through how they treat you and others. Because if you just give it away for free, you're setting yourself up to be disappointed over and over again. Think about the people you respect the most. I guarantee you don't respect them just because they exist. You respect them because of what they've shown you, because of how they move, because of the way they carry themselves. And if that's what it takes for you to respect someone, why would you demand anything less from the people who want respect from you? Some folks think that if they just give respect first and get it back, but that's not how it works. If you respect the wrong people, all you do is show them that they can get something valuable from you without having to do anything to deserve it. And when people don't have to earn something, they don't appreciate it. That's why you see people who are overly kind, overly giving, and overly respectful getting treated the worst, because they never made anyone work for it. And if there's no price, there's no value. But here's the truth: real respect doesn't come from giving it away freely. It comes from having standards. It comes from knowing who deserves it and who doesn't. Because the moment you start respecting yourself enough to demand earned respect from others, everything changes. The way people talk to you changes. The way they treat you changes. Because now they know your respect isn't something they can just expect, it's something they have to earn. And let me tell you, the people who deserve your respect will never have a problem earning it. The ones who get offended when you don't automatically give them respect, those are the ones who never deserved it in the first place. Because real ones understand that respect is mutual, that it's built over time, that it's something developed through character and consistency. So starting today, stop giving your respect away like it's free. Start demanding that people earn it. Not because you're arrogant, not because you think you're better than anyone else, but because you value yourself enough to make sure the people in your life are worthy of the respect you give. And when you do that, you'll notice something: you'll stop getting disrespected. You'll stop being overlooked. Because when people know your respect isn't free, they'll either step up or step out of your life. There comes a point when you have to stop explaining yourself. Stop justifying your boundaries. Stop over-explaining why you won't tolerate certain behaviors. Because the moment you start doing that, you invite people to debate something that is not up for discussion. And the people who truly respect you, they don't need an explanation. They don't need a long-winded speech about why you won't allow disrespect, why you won't tolerate manipulation, why you won't entertain one-sided relationships. They just get it. See, too many people waste energy trying to make others understand their worth, trying to get people to see why they deserve better treatment. But let me tell you something: if someone doesn't see your value on their own, no amount of explaining is going to change that. Because people don't hear what you say, they respond to what you allow. If you have to constantly explain why you won't tolerate certain behaviors, you're not setting boundaries, you're negotiating them. And once you start negotiating your standards, you've already lost. You don't owe anyone a detailed explanation for protecting your peace. You don't owe anyone a step-by-step breakdown of why you're making changes in your life. The moment you start explaining yourself too much, you invite resistance. You invite excuses. You invite people to challenge what should have never been their decision to begin with. Think about it. Have you ever noticed that the people who demand the most explanations are usually the ones who have already disrespected you? They're not asking for clarity because they genuinely want to understand. They're asking because they want a chance to manipulate, to push back, to make you second guess yourself. They want you to soften your stance so they can keep benefiting from your lack of boundaries. And the moment you give in, the moment you engage in that debate, you've already made it clear that standards are flexible. But let me tell you something: your standards are not up for negotiation. Your peace is not up for discussion. The people who truly belong in your life will respect your decisions without you having to explain them. They will recognize your value without you having to prove it. Because real respect is silent. It doesn't need to be debated, argued, or justified. It just is. The only people who need a full explanation are the ones who are hoping they can convince you to change your mind. And the moment you realize that, you stop wasting your time trying to convince people to respect you. You stop trying to justify why you won't allow mistreatment. You stop arguing with people who were never listening in the first place. And when you do that, you start reclaiming your power. Because at the end of the day, the only explanation you ever need is your decision itself. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone deserves a front row seat in your life. And when you finally stop explaining why, when you stop trying to make people understand what they should have already known, you'll find yourself surrounded by people who don't need an explanation at all.